Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Azar with Islamic Shura Council. Here we are on our health program. Welcome. Hopefully, you're doing well and your loved ones and yourselves are all doing good. Good to have you here. We encourage you to comment and let us know what you want us to cover for you. We'd like for you to make this an interactive session with us and give us feedback so that we know what topics are near and dear to your heart so that we can cover them for you. Lately, in the news again, we have the little bit of an increase in uptick in the coronavirus cases here in the US. And again, just for that, we want to make sure that if we do go indoors to places that we don't know the people and we don't know their status, we try to keep ourselves at least with a mask, even though we're vaccinated. That'll protect us and keep us from contracting the COVID-19 virus. It's very important. Many people are coming down with it, although the symptoms are somewhat mild. There are people that get worse symptoms, and we want to prevent as much of it as we can. That's something to keep in mind and keep ourselves ahead of. We are at the end tail of it, but we don't want it to get strength and it's like a little snowball effect. If we're careless and we don't take care of the basic precautions, then what'll happen is that we'll have an avalanche upon us before we know it. So just to keep that in mind for all our places of gathering, whether they're public or private, it's important to keep those precautions in mind and at hand. And especially for your children, there are schools that are still in for a couple more weeks. So you want to end the school year with the graduations and with the celebrations in a safe environment so that you don't have any outbreaks. That's something which is very important. And leading to our topic for today, we've been hearing a lot about this monkeypox that has, shown its head in different countries. Typically we hear about it in the Central African countries like Cameroon, Nigeria, etc. But now we are hearing of cases of the monkeypox virus in places like this morning. I heard about UAE and Abu Dhabi. There's been cases there. There's been cases in Europe, and there's some cases here in the US as well. And it's important to understand what monkeypox is, how we treat it, how we protect ourselves from it, how it transmits, and to just keep ourselves aware. And fortunately, there's already a vaccine for it. And because this is a pathology that we're used to and we've seen before, infectious disease specialists have seen it before. So there are vaccines, which is going to be the smallpox vaccine. There's a couple of them that have been approved for smallpox and monkeypox. So it's important to keep that in mind. So nothing to panic about, but it's important to keep safe. And we'll go through a few of the basic things that we need to know about the monkeypox and where it emanated from and how it gets transmitted and how we can treat it and how we can protect ourselves from it, and also some symptoms and signs that we can see in our bodies or other people's bodies that can alert us to go take care and go see a doctor right away so that we get ahead of it and control it. That's very important because awareness and knowing is half the battle, right? Having the knowledge, having the awareness about something is very important because that's how you can recognize it. And as usual, I always tell you, we have to be an advocate for ourselves in terms of our health. That's very important. If you're someone that's aware and in what's nowadays they call it woke culture, you should have that presence of mind to know what's going on around you and to recognize the signs and symptoms of things so that you can not only protect yourself but protect your loved ones and your community. That's very important. Monkeypox is nothing to worry about in a grand scale. It is something which is very controllable, but again, caution needs to be taken. So that's the important thing about it. There has to be caution that has to be taken. And, like anything else, it's very important to keep it under control. We don't want breakouts in different parts of the world. There were initially, the reason why they call it monkeypox is because the virus was originally, there was a breakout among some monkeys. So that's why they call it the monkeypox, because originally there was a breakout between the monkey species. So that's something which that's why they call it the monkeypox. Um, it's it's very important to understand that smallpox vaccine is something that protects you from the monkeypox virus, and the mode of transmission is person to person through one, through sexual contact, two, through any type of liquid exchange. So any type of human, saliva, sweat, semen, these types of things, it transfers through. So that's something to keep in mind. And lately, we've been seeing reports that this current breakout that we have was due to. I haven't verified the reports myself. I just read a couple of articles on this. It was through intimate contact, sexual contact. And specifically through those people who have multiple partners. So that's something to be aware of, and it's very important to keep that in mind. Um, usually, the monkeypox virus and its symptoms usually lasts 2 to 4 weeks. It is self-limiting, and usually also it can be imported in animals, livestock as well. Like in the U.S., there were some. I think there were some livestock that came from one of the. I think it was Ghana, and to Texas, and it had it. That's one way that it can get spread. The other way is, of course, humans that have been in intimate contact and close relations with others who have it. That's another way. And then the best thing to do is, if you think you have it or you've thought about it, and I'll go through the symptoms and signs, then the best thing is to get in contact with your healthcare provider and set up an appointment. It's less severe than smallpox. Um, you know, um, in Africa, Central and Western Africa, there were remote cases that were identified, and in the U.S., it's most common in the Midwest because of the livestock and animals. So that's something which is important to keep in mind. Some symptoms and signs to look for. People get rashes in the feet and in the hands, the hands and feet, face, extremities. More than so the trunk of your body, less, more on the extremities and the face and the feet. And then you also get eruptions of the mucous membranes, which are in the rest of the body. So that's something which you have to look for. Um, Also, you get flu-like symptoms. Flu-like symptoms, of course, you know what flu symptoms are. And then, the telltale sign are those lesions that you get on the hands and feet, where you get those raised bumps, on the extremities, and also on the face. People get them, and hands, soles of the feet, and the palms. In addition to the flu-like symptoms, it is an animal-borne disease, right? Um, Three different antivirals that exist that your doctors would recommend for you to take. Flu-like symptoms: fever, lethargy, fatigue, headache, sore throat. Some people have nausea and vomiting. And then you have those raised rashes. The raised rashes, you get those little bumps. And you also get reports of sores inside the mouth, throat, and nose. Those are the type of things that you get. And then those raised rashes are like fluid-filled pustules on the skin. And and that's the picture that they show on the news. When you see it, they show those fluid-filled pustules on the skin. That's something where uh, uh, that's a telltale sign of monkeypox. That's important to keep in mind. In terms of epidemiologically predicted cases, different institutions like John Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic, etc., they predict anywhere uh, from now to 2023, they predict anywhere from 10 to 12,000 cases worldwide if it continues at the same rate that it's continuing. But if they get ahead of it and vaccinate people and take care and prevent transmission, then it'll be less. But it's nothing as widespread as COVID, because COVID we didn't have a vaccine for, so it spread and spread and spread and became endemic to different regions. Just for you to get an idea, we'll go through some countries: Australia, Belgium, Canada, France, um, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands. Right now, they have confirmed maybe 2 to 5 cases each country. Portugal and Spain, 21 to 30 cases. So Portugal and Spain, a little bit higher. And then we have also United Kingdom, 21 to 30 cases. And here in the US, it's 1 to 5 cases currently. So that's what the numbers look like. The best thing to do is to be aware, and again, who you have contact with. That's important, and you want to limit your contacts, and especially if you know that there are people that are have traveled from like Central African nations, and they've come and they had flu-like symptoms. You want to, of course, you want to isolate yourself from such people if they're sick, and they should know that if they are sick and they're here visiting or wherever they're traveling to, they should see a doctor immediately so they can isolate and get treated. That's the most important thing. It is self-limiting, so they have to quarantine. That's the best thing to do so that others don't get it. Similar type of quarantine is needed so that you don't have contact, any kind of, especially intimate contact, and that's very important to do that. The reason why there's a sort of more coverage in the news is because the monkeypox has spread accordingly, not in its normal pattern. So it spread a little quicker, and that's why it surprised the epidemiologists and the infectious disease people, because it didn't behave like its normal routine behavior. The virus was a little bit more aggressive, so the behavior of the virus changed. So when that change happens, then there's more attention paid to that virus, and people want to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. So again, rodents and monkeys are usually the host that carries this particular virus, and it's important to keep that in mind. Um, so what has happened is the virus has kind of escaped its natural home where it's normally at, and because of that, and there was some type of prolonged contact or some type of outbreak, uh, and then when that happened, those cases kind of cropped up. People got it, and then people traveled. And when people traveled, and they take it with them, you know. Um, so that's the important thing to keep in mind. So the telltale sign is someone coming from an endemic region, and then also now that you've heard, there's some small cases in Western Europe and England, Portugal, Spain, and even in the U.S. now. So it's important, to keep in mind that it is the virus is now being found in these countries. So if that's happening, um, it becomes sort of a mystery on where these people have caught it from. So now they have to kind of trace and do an epidemiological study and trace these people back to see where it's coming from, and because typically, it's spread through that intimate contact, and most cases will have the lesions that are on the skin and palms and feet, and also in the genital area, because that's where it starts first. And then also there seems to be a higher outbreak in the homosexual and bisexual communities, where there's multiple partners involved. So that's a new situation for a lot of these infectious disease experts. So that's why they're studying it, and that's why we're seeing that it's newsworthy information. It's in the news. Nothing to panic about, but because it's not the virus is not behaving in its normal fashion, it's becoming newsworthy. So that's what it is, and it's a new pattern. It's a surprise to all the epidemiologists and the infectious disease people. So it's important to keep that in mind. And there are antiviral drugs that treat it as well as the smallpox vaccine, and that also will relieve the symptoms. The antiviral drugs. So that's what we're doing, and that's just kind of informing you to be aware of it and be conscious of it. Um, Fortunately, the monkeypox virus is a DNA virus, so it doesn't replicate as fast like the COVID RNA virus, right? So that's a good thing, And there's genetic analysis also that uh, is being done on the virus, and it's similar to the ones that they've seen in 2018 and 2019. So it hasn't mutated. So they still have a good grip on the treatment and on the vaccination. So that's what it is, and I think they're trying to figure out why it's prevalent in one population over another. That's still a surprise to them, but um, it's it's something to keep in mind. Be aware, nothing to panic about. Protect yourselves. Just to recap: fever, headache, swellings and little pustules on the skin, aching muscles, exhaustion, fatigue, itching and rashes and lesions, and then face, hands, and feet. That's where it affects mainly. Face, hands, and feet. So keep that in mind. If you see anything like that in your loved ones or people or and you got to have them quickly go and see the doctor. That's what they need to do. Um, you know, Other than that, I think we've covered most of it. Just keep aware, nothing to panic about. It's just something that's there, and it's self-limiting, which is a great thing because it's not something which is very aggressive, and that'll go further. So there's no need to worry about it at this stage, but they're still trying to gather more information on it. So just keep aware of it and know the signs and symptoms which we've discussed, and that's about it. um, in summer, when there's more mass gatherings and festivals and parties, etc., um, transmission of any virus can accelerate, including monkeypox, including COVID. Now you see it as people gather and they have more events together. um, Viral transmission increases. So again, you have to protect yourself, and protect yourself in terms of hygiene, as well as wearing a mask for things like COVID, and making sure that when you come into contact with people and places, that everything is kind of sanitized and clean. That's very important to decrease transmission. With that, I'd like to wish you a happy week, and we'll see you again next week. If you have any questions or comments, please comment in the comment section, and we can get to those whenever, as soon as possible, and get you your answers. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.